You're listening to Zeitgeist Banana, a podcast all about the English language. My name is Gideon and I'm in Paris, and I'm joined today by Jon. Hello, Jon. Hello again.
Hello, Gideon. You're back in Paris. Wow, that's cool. Is it cool or is it not cool? Are you happy to be there?
It's okay. Things are starting to open now.
Okay.
So I can wander about and sit on a terrace cafe and sip my whatever
Mango
sip.
daiquiri. Is that right?
My mango daiquiri, yeah. How do you know that's what I drink?
I just knew you're the kind of person that drinks that kind of drink, right?
Yeah, you're right. So today, I will tell you what we're going to talk about today. But before we do, it's an important day for the English language, because one of the masters of the English language is celebrating a birthday. And I'll read you a quote from this person and see if you know who it is. A man is a success if he gets up in the morning and gets to bed at night, and in between he does what he wants to do. Or you could say, you don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. Don't get it?
No, I remember I'm not very smart. So
shall I do the accent? I'll do the accent.
Yeah, do the accent, because you're amazing at accents.
Okay. A man is a success if he gets up in the morning and gets to bed at night, and in between he does what he wants to do.
That really doesn't help. What kind of accent was that?
Bob Dylan.
Oh, really?
Bob Dylan, yeah. The master. It's his birthday today. 80 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously you're not a fan.
I do like him, but I'm not as big a fan as you.
Okay.
I guess.
Well, there you are. Yeah, so I just thought I'd mention that because it's important. This thing, we're doing a podcast on the English language, and he won the Nobel Prize, and he's bloody brilliant. So there you are. But now, moving on to the subject of today, it is RP. RP. Yes.
RP is always a challenge.
Not red pencil or Robert Peterson. No, not that RP. We're talking about received pronunciation. You know what that is, Jon, don't you?
I do. It's being posh, right?
Well, no. Well, not really. Not really. And that's why I'm doing it. Because let me tell you, just that from the first sentence of the Wikipedia page about received pronunciation, it says, for a century, there has been argument over the definition of RP. That's the first sentence. And it's a very controversial thing. And you've already stepped into the controversy, Jon, by saying it's the posh accent. The curious thing, it means something different. Everyone has a different definition. So for you, what is RP?
RP is something similar to what would happen on the BBC in the olden days, right? Or even now, I suppose, as in the sense that you're pronouncing things in a correct way, in inverted commas. Is that right?
Well, your statement is a bit controversial.
Is it?
Yeah, but I'm not saying wrong. I'm saying controversial.
That's why you invite me on the show, right? To be controversial.
Yeah, exactly. Do you speak RP English?
I don't think I do, but maybe I do. Maybe I do.
So you don't know what accent you speak. Most people know. They've got an idea of what accent they speak.
Well, I would say no, but it isn't RP just about. Yeah, I'm being controversial, as you say, but
okay, I'll come. It is complicated, which is why I'm talking about it today.
Okay,
try to clarify a few issues, those that can be clarified. Do I speak RP?
No, definitely not. Why would you speak RP?
Why don't I speak RP?
I don't know. It's Cockney, isn't it? No.
What I speak?
London.
I don't, but I've not got a very strong London accent. Whatever you said, I think most people know I'm from London, but it's not particularly strong, is it?
No. Maybe just to me. Okay. Just to me. I'm just teasing you. You're
okay.
Not really.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you. Okay, but it's this is where I'm trying to get to the bottom of it, because it's a bit complicated. So, American Standard English we're pretty clear what it is. American Standard English. You ask an American, they know what the standard English is. Yeah, you have different regions, New York and Texas or whatever, and some Australian Standard English. And it's the same with the standard language of other countries. I'm sure there's a standard Italian, and people know what it is. There's a standard, Spanish and Spanish from the different countries, and it's clear. But when it comes to Britain, it's complicated. And the reason it's complicated is because we have this thing called received pronunciation, which is supposedly the standard British English, the dictionary, the English of the dictionaries. But as Wikipedia says, people can't agree. And here's why. So you have to go first back to the history of RP, where Mr. Daniel Jones, and he wrote that he gave a definition of RP. It's those who have been educated at preparatory boarding schools and the public schools. For the listeners maybe don't know what a public school is, they might have a misapprehension about what a public school is, because it's public schools in Britain are different to public schools in America, say, because the public school are the posh schools, or the schools for the elite, aren't they, John? Like Eton and Harrow, where Boris Johnson went to Eton. And state schools are where the working classes, the plebs like me and you, went to.
Indeed, yes.
You went to a state school, did you?
Well, secondary school I didn't, but I didn't go to a public school. I would say I went to an independent school.
Okay.
Mine was in the third division of private schools. Let's put it that way.
So that's somewhere in between a state school and a public school, because the public schools are really for the elite. They're super expensive. I guess you can get scholarships, but for the ordinary kids, it's out of the question. And they have their own accent, don't they? Their own posh accent.
So it's similar to how Boris sounds, is it?
Well, I'm trying to unravel it here, John. So bear with me, because this is where it gets complicated, because that was the definition. So now it's different, because nowadays received pronunciation is considered a middle class accent. Okay, it's a middle class accent now. And now because if you check the phonetic scripts in the dictionary, it's another type of accent. They don't say lost, that'd be the posh accent, the original RP accent of the public schools. Lost, you say lost. You can check on the phonetics in any dictionary. That's how you say the word, and give you many examples. So the definition has changed. They've decided, no, it's a middle class accent now. And the other thing about modern RP, no, I shouldn't use that term because that has some sort of other meaning. That RP of today, it's supposed to be geographically neutral. Okay, geographically neutral.
That makes sense, doesn't it? Because it's a neutral accent, really, isn't it?
Well, but here's where it gets complicated. So it's geographically neutral, but most people who speak it are from the South. You agree with that?
I would, yeah. I guess I would, yeah.
You don't find many. It's geographically neutral. That's why people start disagreeing. Because what are you talking about? Because in Newcastle or Glasgow, you don't have that many people that speak RP. You do have them. You do find them. Middle-class people who don't have a Scottish accent, they have a pure RP accent, or in other northern cities and elsewhere in the UK, it's mostly southern. So that's the first contradiction. It's a geographically neutral accent that's mostly from the south. Does that make any sense?
It doesn't make any sense, no.
Okay. And also, it used to be a posh accent from the public schools, but now it's a middle-class accent. That's also confusing, isn't it?
Yes. I thought it was something to do with the BBC. What's the BBC got to do with it?
Okay, I'm telling you, it's getting complicated. So other words for RP, BBC English and Oxford English
Mhm.
and the Queen's English or the King's English, and all of them are imprecise because the BBC English used to be the same as the RP, the former RP English, the posh version, because that's how the speakers on the BBC, the newsreaders, etc., that's how they used to speak.
Mm.
But now, if you say BBC English, it's a whole array of regional accents, isn't it? There's no one BBC English anymore. It doesn't exist.
This is very true. I guess it's something that came from the 50s or something like that, wasn't it? Or
Yes, if you watch old newsreels.
yes.
Yeah, exactly. So, Mr. Churchill today opened a hospital in Leamington Spa, that type of clipped posh accents from the BBC, from the archives. But no, not anymore. You can't really call it BBC English. And people say, oh, it's the Queen's English. But it's not the Queen's English because the Queen doesn't speak like that. The Queen says lost and orphan. And my husband and I, it's a very different accent. Apparently, according to the statistics, only about 3% of people speak a pure RP. That is a middle-class accent where you cannot recognize their geographical origin, where they come from.
Only 3%. Wow.
Everyone, like you speak pretty close to RP, but you don't speak RP. And me too. It depends who I'm speaking to. If I'm in London, if I'm in the classroom, people can recognize I'm from London, but I don't have a strong London accent. So I'm somewhere on the scale, on the spectrum. You too. You're somewhere on the spectrum. You don't have a Brummie accent. You're from near Birmingham, but you don't. So you're close, but you're not there. Close, but no cigar, John.
I know. Normally, I spoke like this. But,
yeah, that's the Birmingham accent. So how do you say? Let me ask you a question, Johnny. If I say, how do you say PASS?
PASS. Well, you mean in Brummie or
no? In your normal accent.
Okay, sorry. Pass.
You see, I say pass, but I think in this example, I'm closer to RP because RP is pass, not pass, as you say it.
Yeah, so geographically, it's wrong then, isn't it? Really, because people in the Midlands and the North would say pass.
So therefore, it's geographically non-specific. It's okay. And anyway, but in other cases, maybe I say a word which is, shall we say, non-standard, and you speak the RP version. So, for example, I'm just thinking some words I say in London. Oh, yes, MONTH. How do you say that?
Month.
Again?
Month.
Yeah, you say the th. I tend to say month, which is very London. I don't have a very strong London accent, but some things you can pick up. I'm from London, so we both have bits and pieces that are RP and bits and pieces that are regional, but neither of us speaks a pure RP, and not many people do. Lots of people speak like us, mostly RP, but with a touch of color from the region they grew up in.
So what do you do then when you're trying to teach a student how to say the TH sound? Do you just go f? You don't do it properly, or
I just don't teach pronunciation.
Okay, fair enough.
No, I can do it, but it just doesn't come that month. But it sounds complicated as well because you put an N and then a TH immediately after the N, month. So I don't know. I think I say but as well instead of but. I have sometimes have this glottal stop. How do you say that? Do you say but, or do you also say
but?
You say the T? Okay,
I do. Yeah.
So we both have differing, regional accents, and most people. That's why they say 3% speak this pure RP, where you can't pick up what region they're from. And I've given you a few examples. I was just doing my own research from my own listening, so not a list of RP, but I found here are a few people that speak with an RP accent. and I wrote down just some actors: Stephen Fry,
Mm-hmm.
Jude Law,
Oh yeah.
Keira Knightley. I didn't listen to her for very long, but she sounded like she had a pretty close. She had an RP accent,
Okay.
and Daniel Radcliffe.
I would have thought Joanna Lumley as well.
No, I'm coming to that. No, Joanna Lumley has a posh accent.
Ah.
I'm coming to that in a second. I'm coming to that because, again, it's part of the controversy. Okay, so the ones I mentioned, Stephen Fry, they sound middle class. They may be pretty well off now, but they all sound middle class, don't they? Not posh.
Yeah.
So, no, God, it does get complicated. So, the Queen, she doesn't sound like Stephen Fry. Okay, on Jude Law, she has a different accent, a very extreme posh accent, and other people who fit into that category. So this is kind of like the former RP, the original definition of RP from 1917, those who went to public schools. There are still people who speak like that, but it's not RP anymore. You see what I mean? That's why it's such a terrible idea, RP. So I call it posh English. Okay, but you call it whatever you want. I don't like to call it RP because when you think about it, if there's a standard British English called RP, there can only be one, can't there? You can't have two RPs. You can't people have different languages. There's only one standard dictionary form. You can't have the Queen's version and another version. You can only have one RP. So I call Stephen Fry and Daniel Radcliffe and there's people that they speak RP. However, Joanna Lumley, Hugh Grant, Boris Johnson, David Cameron, they all speak kind of posh. William and Harry, they don't quite sound the Queen, but they sound pretty posh to me. So that's really a different accent, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I'd never really thought about that, but yeah, you're right.
So how do you say HERE?
Here?
Yeah, that's the RP version, but the posh will be here. So there's quite a different way of speaking. I'm not going to go through all the phonetics today. It's not really the point of this podcast. But if you listen to them, it's quite different. And how do you say OFF?
Off.
Off. That's the RP version. But off. That would be the posh version. More rounded O's. So lots of differences.
So as an English learner, does that mean you should think about RP or not?
Well, personally, it's just like there are some things which are a headache in English. First of all, it's the spelling. And the second thing is even the definition of what they're learning. It's very clear if you're learning Italian, which Italian you should learn. But yeah, RP, if you consider it as a standard British English, the middle class English, that's the one in the dictionary. So yeah, you can learn that one, but I wouldn't teach them how to speak like Boris Johnson or the Queen. That would not be interesting.
Would you be able to teach them how to speak like the Queen or Boris Johnson?
I'm not even sure I could teach them RP, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day. It doesn't matter. It's just you can get an approximation to how it's spoken. The other controversy is because I noticed that some people divide up RP into three. It says there's the RP I've just been talking about, like the middle class accent, and then there's the conservative RP that Boris Johnson and Prince Harry speak, and then there's a modern RP which is a little bit rougher, a bit more working class, but it's still basically RP. And personally, I think this is nonsense to have. I think you can only have one. As I said, you can only have one standard English. You can't have many difference of standard English. It just confuses people. So what I believe is that we should abolish the term RP completely. Okay. And there is another term. I think it's called, just on the top of my head, I think it's called SSBE.
SSBE. That sounds even more confusing. Standard, but standardized something.
Standard Southern British English.
Oh, Southern.
At least it's recognizing the fact, and it is really more or less a fact, that The standard English is mostly from the south. It's not from the north.
You
And
you you might get some hate letters now, trolling maybe.
perhaps I'm not saying it's better or worse. I just gonna say you got to start somewhere with a standard, and I think that's a far better term. And just forget about this RP, which was invented 100 years ago by a guy who was, you know, who thought that we should all speak like the king and royalty and the aristocracy, and that was the standard. We should just forget about it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we should definitely forget about it. And I think, well, maybe I don't really hear about RP so much nowadays, though. It's not.
But what do you teach then when you're teaching pronunciation? I'm sure you've done that before.
I have done that before.
What do you teach, and what are your references?
Well, I just teach them how I speak, because I speak amazing, and then just say to them there's slight differences in the sense that, you know, I would say pass and the Queen would say pass, and I say, well,
So you teach your students how to say pass.
I don't teach them that. I just tell them that I sound different to the Queen, for example. So it's
What
like,
about
you can either sound like me or you can sound like the Queen, and you know,
those are the only two options,
only
John or
only
the
two
Queen.
options. Only two options. Yeah.
You have a choice here, students. Your first lesson today. What do you want? You want to speak like me, or do you want to speak like the Queen? Oh, I don't know. It's lesson one is a bit
Well, you know, you
intimidating.
can't give people too many choices, can you? I mean,
What about BLOOD? How do you say that?
blood.
Ah, so we agree. Blood. Yeah. So we both say the RP version, the middle class RP version, blood. So it's interesting how accents sometimes coincide and sometimes they're different. And I think that's standard, I say, because of this spectrum thing I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, well, so we would both speak RP mostly, right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's correct,
Exactly.
though, isn't it? We both speak it mostly, so we may not do it perfectly, but
Do you find? Let me ask you a question then. Do you find? I don't know, because you're in London all the time now. Because when I'm in London, or it used to be the case when my accent used to change a bit. If I'm in London, I'm speaking to Londoners, my accent would become stronger. And when I was at home, I would speak or in a classroom, or I would speak something closer to RP. Do you find that you are a Jekyll and Hyde character? Do you have more than one accent?
probably to some extent, but I would say my accent is fairly neutral anyway.
Yeah.
So with my mum, for example, she's from Yorkshire, and her accent is neutral, and you can't really tell that she's from Yorkshire. But when she speaks to her sisters on the phone, she will lapse back into her Yorkshire accent.
Okay, that's interesting. I think in the past you also used to want to hide your regional accent and sound a bit posher, sound more middle class. And a lot of people would try and get rid of their regional accent. But now the opposite is true. You have a kind of street credibility if you have a regional accent, and you don't. If you're speaking too posh, then it doesn't sound cool. And in the past, it would be you would need a good accent to get a job, a good job, a middle class job. I don't know, as a lawyer or as an accountant, you would probably need a good accent. There was prejudice, but that's no longer the case. I hope it's no longer the case. So regional accents are flourishing and people like to use them. And it's a sign of identity, I think. You say where you come from.
Yeah, very much so. And that's where one aspect that you get on the BBC nowadays, isn't it? Multitude, or a number of different accents that you can obviously hear and you can obviously pick up on. And you could argue probably 30 years ago that wouldn't have been the case.
Okay. Well, before we finish, let me ask you, do you have a favorite accent? British accent.
Okay. Well,
favorite British accent, regional accent.
Yeah. Well, let me think. I quite like Geordie, actually. No, I like a Somerset accent.
Ah.
Can I do it?
Yeah, try.
So can I sing a song? I've got a really good song.
Okay.
So I can't read and I can't write, but that don't really matter because I'm a Bristol Rovers fan and I can drive a tractor.
Okay. I think we just lost about 1,000 listeners. Yeah, well,
That's
thank you for that.
my farmer's accent, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Were
it was
you
quite good
not?
actually.
You
I'm not
quite
sure about the
enjoyed it.
song, but yeah, it was okay. It was the accent was right. Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you. I like that accent. When I was younger, I wanted to live in Somerset just to have that accent.
Mm. Okay. Well, I do like, apart from, of course, I'm biased, so I like the London accent. But apart from the London accent, I like the Birmingham accent. It has a bad press,
Do you
but
like
I
it?
really like it. Yeah, I love it. It's really sort of sing song.
Can you do
Yeah.
it? Can you do it?
I'll read the first line from Wikipedia in a Birmingham accent. Okay.
Fantastic. Yeah. Love
Okay.
it.
The introduction of the term received pronunciation is usually credited to British phonetician Daniel Jones. How did I do?
You could have been better, but it wasn't too bad. It wasn't
Too bad. I lived in Birmingham for a year, so that's the closest I can get. But no, I love it. It's a really sort of sing-song accent. So one of my favorites. So if you're not familiar with the Birmingham accent, then
just watch.
Just listen to Jon. Yes,
just listen to
get
me,
lessons with Jon.
Yeah. But your accent was okay, but it was I kind of felt as if it was a Londoner trying to do a Birmingham accent.
Okay. It was. To be fair, I don't claim for it. It was.
But people should watch Peaky Blinders because they have Birmingham accents on Peaky Blinders.
Peaky Blinders, yeah, if you want to get the Birmingham accent.
Exactly.
Okay, well, I hope that's clarified a few things as far as RP accent is concerned.
You've changed my life.
So, yeah, it's confusing. I say get rid of it. That's why I say get rid of it. RP is a stupid term, but we're stuck with it, I guess, for a while. Before we go, Jon, maybe there are one or two listeners out there who don't know who you are. Maybe you'd like to explain.
Yeah, there probably aren't too many because I'm definitely more famous than you are. So I am the man behind English with Monty, which you've probably downloaded before you've downloaded this podcast. And we do things about the English language too. And Gideon, you're on it.
Am I?
You are on it.
Okay. Yeah. So another reason to listen to it. Okay, thank you, Jon. So listen to English with Monty, watch Let Them Talk TV, and catch you on the next podcast of Zeitgeist Banana. Bye.
Bye.